As I said, this did begin a week ago in the nation's capital in Ottawa, where the CBC's Evan Dyer is right now. He's on the scene for us once again. So, Evan, hello to you. Now, we were told that more people were joining the demonstration today, the second weekend of the protest. Are you seeing more people at this point?
Yes, we absolutely are. We've seen much larger crowds than during the week. Most of them appear to be people who've come just as pedestrians or in passenger vehicles. We're not necessarily seeing large, big rig trucks coming into downtown, but what we are seeing is large crowds of people milling around where the trucks are parked, up on Parliament Hill, and on streets all around here. I mean, this is Wellington Street, which is the sort of epicenter of the protests, but you can walk blocks from here and you will still see people walking on the street, many of them carrying Canadian flags and provincial flags or symbols, other symbols like the Métis flag and so on. We've seen that all over the city. There are also depots set up in various different locations of the city where they're either parking vehicles, serving food, and so on. There's a kind of a party atmosphere which began last night with a dance party with a DJ. There's still a dance party going on right now. And if you look at this yellow and green structure there, that is a bouncy castle, Michael. And that's just one of a few. There appear to be about 5 of them set up right here on Wellington Street in front of the Parliament building, and protesters have packed straw bales around them in case anyone falls off, presumably. So that's just an indication of the kind of atmosphere on the streets and of the organization, the coordination and cooperation between these protesters, just the amount of logistical effort that has gone into these protests. I'll give you another example. Maybe we can show 3 things that arrived in Ottawa last night. Saunas. Full-sized wooden barrel saunas which have been set up at the protesters' staging point at Coventry Road, where there's a baseball stadium. So we're seeing all kinds of signs that the protesters are here to stay, and they're trying to generate today, as I say, this kind of a carnival atmosphere with dancing, with music, and so on.
Now, you talk about a party atmosphere, but of course we've heard from area residents in downtown Ottawa. They don't view this as a party at all. In fact, they are launching a class action lawsuit. Talk to us about that.
That's right. So many residents have complained for days now about various different aspects of this protest, the main one being the honking. The honking and fireworks at night are the biggest complaint of all, and that's what this class action lawsuit is about, brought by an Ottawa lawyer, Paul Champ, and has a young 21-year-old federal public servant as the plaintiff named in the statement of claim. But anybody who lives within a pretty large area of the downtown core would qualify potentially in this class action lawsuit if it were to go through. The main complaint in the lawsuit is the honking, that the statement of claim says is up to 120 decibels and continues into the night. They say it's caused stress and fatigue and lack of sleep to Ottawa citizens. They're seeking close to $10 million in damages and punitive damages, which is very close to the amount that fundraisers have been able to raise through that GoFundMe account. Of course, we now know that that account has been frozen, and that money will be either refunded to the people who donated it or sent to other charities. But I've got to tell you that, by the way, that the shutting down of the fundraising account does not appear in any way to have put a crimp in this protest, and the people that we've been speaking to seem determined to continue whether they get reimbursed for their expenses or not.
Now, we were told that Ottawa police would be changing their tactics this weekend. What are you seeing there?
Yeah. We are seeing a little bit more of this than earlier today. We saw some concrete barricades actually set down further up the street here, and maybe we can just turn around. If you look over where that sort of tall, 8-story tall brown building is, that's the O'Connor Street entrance to Wellington. And police set some concrete barricades there. They brought in a truck with the blocks on a flatbed, and about 30 police officers surrounded it, pushed the crowd back in both directions, and laid down what appears to be a concrete wall. That seems to be some kind of an effort to separate one side of Wellington Street from another. Whether they will continue with that effort and try to sort of block off other streets, we don't know. The number of police officers on the street doesn't seem that much higher than before, and I think that's essentially because the police force was already working full out. Its resources were already maxed out prior to this new surge and contain strategy, so they don't have that many more officers to give. But they do have also the presence of other police forces, RCMP officers, Ontario Provincial Police, and so on. But it's pretty clear that even when you put all of those police forces together, the dominant force on the streets is not police. The dominant force on the streets in terms of numbers is the protesters.
Evan, thank you again for this. We'll speak a little later today. The CBC's Evan Dyer in Ottawa.